everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Brian.
And I'm Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share our thoughts and perspectives on marriage.
We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. Now, let's get right into the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back for those who are consistent listeners, and welcome for those if this is your first time. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen and hear what we have to say about what we're talking about. And today we are going to talk about letting go. There are certain things in our lives and in marriage that just simply cannot be, and there's nothing in our control that can change it. So we're going to just talk about a few of those things and how we let those things go to keep our marriage going strong.
And we want to take this opportunity to invite you to link up with us on our socials. Searching Marriage is Tougher. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and maybe some other platforms going up here in the future. But we'd like you to continue the conversation on any of our topics over there. If you'd like to be a guest, you can reach out to us on marriagestougher.com. There's a short form for you to fill out, and then we'll reach out and qualify you to be a guest on the show. Quick hint, you're probably qualified if you're in a relationship. So don't be afraid to reach out, y'all. And don't be afraid to, be part of the community and just contribute to the community in any way that you see fit. We want to hear from you.
All right. So letting go. I mean, when we were talking about doing this and thinking about what letting go means, I immediately went to life application, like life experiences, things that happen, things that change, right? It's as fundamental as seasons changing, right? So when people say they can't let go, I always think of easy opportunities to be like, well, actually, if you live anywhere, above Florida, when seasons change, there is a letting go. Now, do you do that well, or do you go kicking and screaming? That's the in your mindset, right? Because you have to change seasons, but in the mindset when it's now fall, are you harping about how, oh man, you really miss summer and what you did in the summer and how you could do the summer, or are you taking time to embrace what's happening in fall? Same thing, now fall comes to winter. Oh man, it's so cold. I hate the cold, blah, blah, blah. Instead of embracing, fires and cuddles and, movie time, any family birthdays that come in that time, like it's all about, again, with us, it comes back to mindset and shifting your mindset. But what do you think? What do you think about this topic of letting go?
Yeah. So my first thought was this is probably a little bit clickbaity because we don't mean, at least in this instance, letting go of a relationship, right? We're talking about within the relationship, the things that you might have to let go of. And as typical, when you're talking about me, I think about having to let go of the things I was able to do as a single man, right? If I wanted to get up and go golf, boom, first thought, I get up, I go golf, right? If I had an idea of, some job I wanted to go after, boom, first thought, let's get done, let's get qualified, let's go get that job, right? And now all these things have to take a step of consideration of my family, my wife, and, what her thoughts are on the matter. And now as I'm thinking about it, some of those things will take consideration as my children get older as well, right? Case in point, my VP of Ops came over to me the other day after we had a meeting, and he asked me if I'd be willing to move. We operate in a bunch of different states, and he's like, you're on our radar. If an opportunity were to pop up, would you be willing to move to another state? And my single mind was like, well, yeah, right. If the opportunity is worth it, then, I would jump all over it. And then, the reality was actually was always there that, well, I'd have to talk to my wife about that and, um, you know, change that information in my employee profile, which he suggested because he told me if I wanted to be part of the consideration that that's something they look at, and I would at least have to show them that that's available or I wouldn't be
Hmm.
part of the conversation. But he also said, you could always say no later, but be part of the conversation. So, I had that conversation with my wife and I made those selections of which states I'd be willing to move to, which, by the way, Hawaii is one of them. Um, yeah.
Hey,
But I don't think she'd have a problem with that one. But again, we have to have that conversation. So that's where my mind first went.
no, that's so good, and that definitely is plays a part. I mean, it's literally something that just cannot be, right? That's what yeah, let me run that back, right? When we're talking about letting go, letting go doesn't mean giving up, but
Right.
rather accepting that there are things that cannot be, right? And some people have even just there's a mental hurdle to just admitting or just to be okay with letting go, right?
Mhm.
Because they think they have to achieve something or win at something and they can't lose, or if they let go of something then they've lost, and then there's all the these mental gymnastics things to kind of move on. But it's really okay to just let some things go and use your energy for those specific things that you want to go after, or those specific things that are right. Like, you just sometimes you have to let go. Like, early on when you first have kids, you have to let go that you're going to get a full night's sleep. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it just won't be. You just have to figure out, how do I navigate? Like, what's the strategy to be the best person that I can be with no sleep?
Right. Adaptation.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of where we're sitting, and that's a lighthearted truth slash example. But some people get really stuck on those things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, how are we going to move forward? In my mind, I don't know. Maybe you think letting go is, you should never let go and hang on to everything.
Well, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're running through your mind that, no, I don't need to let go. I can do everything. I invite you to test that theory, but it's not going to be healthy for your relationship. You know what I mean? Because I think I was there once, right? I just got done reading Kevin Hart's book, Monsters and How to Tame Them. And one of those monsters is the do it all or do everything monster, right? Especially as a business owner, which was his perspective, right? He's like, oh, I got to do all the things. I don't need to hire that because they're not going to do it as good as me. So I got to do everything, right? And then from a relationship perspective, the do it all, right? Oh yeah, I can be there for my wife and my kids, and I can also go golf as much as I want. I can have any job I want to have. I can go out there and hang out with my friends and keep up with all of them, even the ones from high school and college, and the ones that that I'll have in the future. Like that's not even. It's not possible. You
Just
don't
sounds
have that much
exhausting.
capacity, right? But in your mind might play tricks on you, like, oh yeah, I just commit to this and that, and like there's there was a time in my life where I would try to commit to all these different things. And what I realized is that I stopped and or just wasn't considering the impact on my wife. Right. So let's say, yeah, I do commit to all those different things. How many of those things is my wife excluded from because she just doesn't enjoy them, doesn't want to be there, right? Has to pick up the slack at home for me because I'm out of the house, has to watch the kids, right? Um, maybe she can't work because I'm just out there living, right? Uh, How does that relationship work? you better believe that when I walk back through the door, there's going to be some resent,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm just living my life feeling like everything's okay. Nah, well, that's going to end as soon as you have a first conversation.
Right. I mean, that's such a good example. Like once you're married, there are going to be things that you just have to let go of. Point blank, period.
Mm-hmm.
And it's having the conversation with your wife um, about what that strategy is, right? Because you can realize you're doing all the things, right? Not talk to your wife, decide this is too much. I'm going to do none of the things. Then all of a sudden you're available in your relationship, but you're now um, a terrible person. Meaning, like you're sad, you're thinking about like, man, like none of the things are here. Like, who am I now because I'm not doing anything that I'm used to, right? So that's the beauty of um, accepting some of the things, right, and having that conversation. Um, and the ability to let go healthily is to have that conversation and then figure out how to just let it go because you can see what is still there and what you have, right, is greater than whatever you're letting go.
Mm. Yeah. For me, it was less of, I want to say less acceptance. Now it did land there, right? You I guess I'll say end with acceptance, but to get to the acceptance piece, it was more of me realizing that I made this decision, right? I made the decision to get married, to be in this relationship, to have children. And if I am keeping myself accountable for the decisions I make in my life and the result of said decisions or the uh the outcome of said decisions, then I'm able to live with the fact that things are going to change in my life, right? My availability will change, right? The Some of the guys that I used to hang out with might mention, "Hey man, you're never around anymore. What's going on?" Like, I'm taking care of me and my family. Like, get one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Um, and so like you can't allow yourself to be hurt and or affected so much by the goings on that used to be. It's like Paul said here, this is just now a fact of life.
Yeah, I love that you said that. It's being accountable for the choices that you made.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we get upset with like the quote unquote symptoms of that root issue is that you're not being accountable, right? We see, oh, I can't do this, and the kids won't let me do that, or my wife won't let me do that, or because I have this, I can't do that, right? I chose this job, I have no time, this job is sucking the life out of me, blah, blah, blah. But you made those choices, bro.
Right.
Like, this is on you to figure out the best way to get through it.
Yep.
Now, if you can't, then maybe you need to shift some things, right? If you can't healthily come to a conclusion, then we have to figure out how can this become a healthy balance,
Yeah.
or figure out what are the issues that are making it not healthy, right? Because either you're changing your actions or you're changing your mindset.
Right.
And that's where you can sit on, helping yourself let go or even just deal with the change of your life now,
Yeah.
the
You
one that
know.
you chose, by the way.
Right. For me, it was both. Right. I had to change my mindset and I had to change my actions. And so, if I still find myself wanting to be a little bit selfish and say, it always goes back to golf for me because that's the outdoor activity that I love the most right now. How can I, number one, be accountable for my decisions, right? And then number two, change my actions in a manner that will still allow me to golf. Well, for me, it looks like including my family in my golf now, right? So two of my children are of the age where they can swing a club. One of them still is not. But, specifically yesterday, I took them, like I just told you offline, to the driving range. I've got one that's running around being a little terror, but the other two are trying to practice and get into the sport, which is lovely because that means later on I'm going to be able to take them out onto the course with me. And I've got some gentlemen in my life that I work with now who have children that they golf with, and it's one of the best things that they've done with their time is to be able to spend that time with their kids and um, relate to them in that way. So, yeah, and the other thing is with the mindset, you have to realize that these things, going back to the seasons, are seasonal, right? You do have to make sacrifices for a while, um, but I think typically once you get your kids raised, you can go back to some of the things that you used to do, right? Um, I've always had this idea that I would grow old golfing with my wife. All right. Um, she is not about that life. So I have to accept that that will probably not be. And I'm okay with that, right? I, I'm going to hope that I can facilitate an area for her to find a hobby that can take just as long so I can still get out there.
I hear that, and all those that are golfers understand that that comment. No, that's good. You reminded me of something that um, I've thought of recently, right? Because my wife and I, we met um, with music, right? Singing worship music at our church, and they're playing and all that. Um, so I always saw us um, doing music like seriously at some point in our marriage, right? I just assumed that that would happen, right?
Mhm.
Um, and seriously, I mean like recording and trying to put something out because I think she has a phenomenal voice. Um, but the thing about that is where we are um, almost 7 years apart, and she's already done like the serious music thing before we met, right?
Yes.
So not really on her radar, but also like I see God moving us in a different direction and more of like teaching now.
Mm.
And like all in like a lot of different aspects. And but I see us doing that together. Right. So I am I'm really just now having this realization as we're talking. But like I'm totally okay with not going after it musically. Again, that's probably something I can see me and my kids doing.
Mm.
But as far as looking forward and something to grow old with and um, something that doesn't really require like any physical activity so that we can do this forever is teaching. And like that is super exciting for me. Um, because I love seeing Crystal in that element and I love just watching people grow. So there is, you just got to be open to shifting and again, just looking forward and what can be. And I think it's not even just, it's thinking about letting go, but not harping on it. I think that's what a healthy level of letting go is like acknowledging that something is different, but moving forward into the what is and not harping on the what was.
Right. Yeah. You. offline brought up the fact that I didn't get this job I was going after, right? Um, and for a moment, my mind was a little twisted up because I was dealing with the fact that, oh man, I really thought I was going to get this job, right? So I had set up this expectation of what life might look like after I got this job, right? Because
Mm,
in my mind, at least, I had to make that a consideration in the forefront anyway, right?
right.
Because if this job can't fit our lifestyle, then I can't pursue it. So I had to create this picture of what life would look like after that. And then the closer the opportunity got, the closer my mind got to accepting that that was going to be my new reality. And then in a moment, you get the news that you didn't get the job, and all of that changes, right? So now you're kind of dealing with a feeling of loss. Um, I'm dealing with the fact that I still have to work with the person who did get the job, right? Um, I'm dealing with the fact that I'm now being watched. How does Brian react to this situation? Right. So all the upper management's watching me. I want to still be contributing to the team in a way that is respectable and will allow me to advance in the future. Um, and I'm dealing with the fact that the company at this moment needs me to be doing something else. So now I'm also preparing to do that. Right. So like this is a whole 180-degree turn.
Right.
And I'm fortunate to have leadership in my company that felt comfortable enough to tell me, you know, God probably has something else for you. So don't get discouraged. Right. Um, and that's obviously very settling. I was thinking along those lines myself as well. But, I now have to accept that those thoughts of getting that position and having a little bit more status and those types of things, an increase in pay and you know, all those aspects simply cannot be, right? And that's not something I can change. It could potentially happen in the future, but at this moment, for the foreseeable future, that scenario cannot be, right? So going back to the title, like I gotta let go.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example of something that most of the listeners will go through in life is
Hmm.
expecting a job change and it not happening, right? And how do we move forward with it? And that is literally something you can only control up to the point of applying and going through those steps. After that, it's literally out of your hands. You do the
Right.
best and you just see what happens. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I think we hit on all the things. Is there anything else you want to say?
Yes, I want to say, and I want y'all to listen close to this. Make sure y'all hit us up on our socials. We are waiting to hear from you. We are wanting to hear from you better. And you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Comment on any of the content that you're seeing there. Continue the conversation on any of those platforms, and just contribute and be a part of the community. If you would like to be a guest, go to marriageistoffer.com. At the bottom of that page is a form for you to fill out that will give us your information and let us know that you're interested in being a guest. We will reach out to you and get you scheduled to be on the show. We're looking for men who are looking to get married, need a little help with a current relationship or potentially future relationship. Men who have been married anywhere from just a couple years to 30, 40, 50 years. We're looking for men who are divorced. We are looking for men who are widowed. Anywhere in the gamut of a marital relationship, we would like to talk to you. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't think that you are excluded from the community whatsoever. If you are a man who is anywhere in and around a marriage, we would like to talk to you. So that's what I had to add.
All right. Well, until next time, we appreciate y'all taking your time, and we'll chat later.
Peace.